Whoa, alert, I'm sounding the alarm. US passports are no longer being respected, and the US passport is losing its power. For the first time in a 20-year history, it has fallen to the 10th place. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the countries that are replacing the US passport and what this means for you as an expat traveler abroad. So listen. If you are under the impression that a US passport was your global key, you may want to think that sentiment again, because we're witnessing a seismic shift. Countries are stepping back, and increasingly travelers are being denied, and they are not experiencing the welcomes or dignity that they once had when they crossed global checkpoints. What used to be, yes, come on into our country, is now, you're an American? I don't know if we really want you here. In fact, on the African continent, I can tell you, countries like Namibia used to be visa-free for Americans, but for Americans, Namibia is no longer visa-free. And this sentiment is not just going to stop in 2026. Obviously, it's going to continue. And so it's going to be wise for you to know which countries are neutral, which ones you can still live in and live your best life and have a fair amount of living that's not based on corruption or any type of weird indicators that are going on politically behind the scenes. Because while we understand the US is fallen and is one of the most horrible nations on the face of the earth for the global south, us as Americans, we still have a blue passport though, and so it's still important for us to go to places where we're actually going to be treated well. So listen, according to the Henley Passport Index, the US has fallen to the 10th place, its lowest ranking in the index's 20-year history. This is coming from Business Insider. And you should understand, the US travelers now have visa-free access to only 182 destinations, which is a far contrast from the 4 fewer from the years before, okay? Now, if you want to know the countries that are actually topping the US, I think it's really interesting because about three of these countries actually have like freelance permits for those of you who are in America and have been looking to get second dual citizenships that are somewhere else. Singapore number 1, then Germany, Italy, France, and Japan all surpass the US on mobility travel. And just so you know, like France and Germany and Italy has a digital nomad visa. France and Germany have freelance and digital nomad visas. Japan's visa situation is a little iffy though. They do like a 6-month digital nomad visa. And so if you are someone that wants long-term residency somewhere and you want to get a second passport or just a second residency, Japan may not be the best bet because you'd probably have to work in Japan regardless. You can still travel there and enjoy your time. But listen, this decline reflects more than lost privilege. It signals a loss of diplomatic influence and reciprocal trust. America is no longer the default choice for many travelers, okay? Because people don't trust it anymore. And for many countries, they don't even want to go there on vacation, as we discussed in the last video that I did yesterday. You should check that out. By the way, we're 3 minutes and about 30 seconds into the video. I'm feeling like you should hit the like button. Like, it's free. It doesn't exert too much energy, I don't think. And it should just take like 5 seconds, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit the like button. Go ahead, subscribe, share this video as well because we need to talk about this. The next portion of this video is going to discuss the biometric borders, and the new normal countries are doubling down on digital IDs and digital currencies. Welcome to 2025 and the 2020-30 era where biometric borders are the new normal, okay? So countries are doubling down on digital ID systems like fingerprinting, facial recognition, digital biometric scanning, and especially for US travelers from countries like France, the UK, the United Arab Emirates, mainly people go there to go to Dubai, Kenya, Ghana, and Thailand. And just so you know, in the coming month or so, the EU, the European Union, which is comprised of 27 European countries, including Spain, France, Germany, Italy, all those folks over there, they are on October 12th, 2025, launching their biometric entry-exit system, EES, meaning visa-exempt travelers, including U.S. passport holders, will face mandatory fingerprint and facial scans instead of just their passport. Your passport is no longer enough. We are entering an interesting era that just, quite frankly, I can't sugarcoat this. It mimics the beast system that's talked about in Revelations 13. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to just say it there. I got it out. That's what it's looking like, right? And as EU digital control increases, U.S. data sharing policies are not universally trusted. Privacy regulations and surveillance fears are fueling pushback and protocols in airports across the entire world. But why are American travelers facing disproportionate travel barriers? Well, the decline in the U.S. passport power is something that you just can't go into colorblind. Visa rejections are on the rise for U.S. passport holders applying to Ghana, the United Arab Emirates, South Africa, and even Thailand for vague reasons like unverified income or regional tensions. This is a report coming straight from the Washington Post and Travel Noir. This is actually happening in real time. This is why I always tell you on this channel when you're watching, you want to come to a country like Mauritius, Africa, Seychelles, Africa. You want to maybe try Botswana. You want to try these countries that people don't think about. They're not the most popular, but they are welcoming. It's super important to be in a place that's welcoming. We covered this last night in the State of the Diaspora. For those of you in America, that was your afternoon, but for us, it was last night. For you, it was in the afternoon. But we cover why you can't just go in blind to these places. And most of the content you see on YouTube from previous expats, travelers, people, whether they went to certain regions in Africa or if they went to certain regions in the Middle East, understand, unless they're posting content and they are in this realm consistently serving clients and they are consistently on the ground networking, figuring out what's happening, then a lot of that information is outdated, okay? That is why we have the 90-minute intensive, the State of the Diaspora, so we can bring you the most new information. And a lot of times, quite honestly, we will have clients in the State of the Diaspora who have traveled to certain places before, and they will give you their experience. One of our clients, Claudia, did that last night. A few people had questions about, hey, can I bring my pet to Mauritius? And she's like, hey, I can answer the question. We actually decided not to do it because it was going to be a lot of paperwork and things of that nature. And so it's almost like, how do I want to word this? You cannot afford to not be in the know and in the right settings with people that actually understand the practical and tactical knowledge that it takes to live outside of America for 5 years plus, especially if you have multiple children, especially if you have a parent of retirement age, especially if you are somebody's parent who is of retirement age. That doesn't want to do a retirement visa that you're going to have to renew every 2 years when you could get one here in Mauritius. If you're over the age of 50 and make $1,500 per month in your pension, they will allow you to go ahead and process your retirement residence, and it will be for 10 years. These are the conversations that people do not talk about. These are the things that need to be discussed, because as certain countries are closing down for Americans, other ones are opening up, but they're not on the forefront, of course. And then now we need to even talk about Mexico's expat purges, because again, we know that Mexico has been going wild. Not the whole country, but a certain city has basically been purging their US residents that were there, okay? So they were seeing increased surveillance demands, visa denials, and unpredictable residency limits. On top of, they were actually going through and like destroying businesses down there, saying, hey, you have to get out of Mexico if you're an American. And for me, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I don't want to be in a country that does protest nonstop. I just don't. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. I was born in a country like that. They protest every other month. You can find a protest in America, and it's much better to come somewhere that has that high safety and peace index, okay? Because listen, for your diaspora strategy, you need a global pivot that's in motion. And so you may be thinking, okay, what are savvy expatriates doing? Well, I can say some expatriates are choosing Caribbean citizenship by investment. They feel like that's a better route. They feel like some countries in the Caribbean are a little bit more free. Nations like Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Lucia now grant citizenship for only $200,000, a real estate investment, okay? These passports offer visa-free access to 140 to 150 countries, right? So that's actually not too bad. And then your next option, my favorite option if you are someone under the age of 50, is freelance and nomad visas, residencies, okay? Countries like France, Germany, South Korea, and several East African nations now offer digital nomad visas or freelance permits, legal labels that grant months to years of residency. France, in particular, has become a hub for remote workers, educators seeking legitimacy, as long-stay visa processing continues to grow. Now, y'all know I'm not one to necessarily live in Europe, but if that's your thing, that's your thing, because I have been seeing increasing amounts of Black women and just Americans in general that are wanting to live in France, in the south of France, and they're like, hey, they have this new freelance permit that I wanted to do. And I'm like, hey, more power to you. At least, you're closer to Africa now if you ever wanted to come down to the motherland, because y'all know I am a diehard for the motherland, but I didn't have to tell y'all that. Moving on. Now, in East Africa, your long stay residencies and in the eastern side of the world, you're going to be looking at Mauritius. You're also going to be looking at the UAE, Dubai. They have a digital nomad and self-employed entrepreneur visa residence. Bangkok, Thailand. And then some people also go to Latin American tech hubs that offer multi-year residency through startup visas. These pathways can create structural mobility, the type of mobility that you need in these times. Because, listen, conditions in U.S. policy shifts cannot easily dismantle, and U.S. policy is changing quickly. The more that President Trump changes things, the more some of his EU counterparts or even African counterparts or even Latin American counterparts like in Mexico, the more these people are like, I don't think we really want you guys here all like that anyway. Your president is acting a little wild. How about you guys stay on that side of the world over there? And look, you and I both know that this is urgent. This is nearly an expat crisis because we value sovereignty over dependency. You and me right there, right? If your only legal identity is tied to a declining superpower with digital surveillance overreach, then your future moves are hostage to shifting policies. Let's let that sink in. Your future movements and your future life is hostage to shifting American policies when you only look at America and you do not diversify. So here's what you're risking: border closings without notice, visas being denied due to political shifts, data sharing, which is basically a new pandemic, the data sharing pandemic. Can we just coin that term right now? And distrust that flags your ancestry or your activism. And there's no fallback for you if U.S. internal chaos restricts passport issuance or travel, okay? So if you have a U.S. passport, you're a U.S. citizen, you're an African American, you are, or you're an American that's been there for quite some time, and you only have a U.S. passport, you don't have residency somewhere else, you don't have a network somewhere else, you are not diversified well enough, right? Even when we invest in stocks, crypto, when we save and invest, we really do more investing than saving, to be quite honest with you. But we like a diversified portfolio. We'll hold like 5 different cryptos, 7 different stocks, and then hold a few precious metals as well. And I like to think of everything in life like that. I think of my business like that. I like to be diversified, but I also think of my travel portfolio and my family's travel portfolio because I'm thinking to the 10th generation. When I'm traveling, when I'm looking at digital nomad visas, when I'm deciding not to stay put in just one area forever, I'm thinking, okay, I want my 5 children to have options, to have a network in Tanzania, to have a network in Mauritius, to have a network in South Africa, to have a network in Thailand, to have a network in Philippines if they so choose. I want them to have global options because the way that the world is going, you are going to need to think way outside the box. You're going to have to increase your faith. You're going to have to start thinking, okay, Most High, where are you leading me to go? What can I do with what you've given me so that I am shown as the good, wise steward of what you've given me? Because remember, there's a verse in the book of Matthew that says those who have been given little, but they did nothing with it, even the little that they had will be taken away. Those who have been given much, but they did much with it, meaning The Most High put talents, giftings, whatever he wanted to put in them. Maybe it was patience, maybe it was kindness, maybe it was discernment, maybe it was understanding. And then they got back even more in all areas of their life. Their life is just fruitful in all areas, right? Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. Blessed are you in the field, blessed are you in the livestock, blessed are you in your womb, blessed are you in your storehouse. Everything that your hand touches shall prosper. You shall lend to many nations, and you shall not borrow. You shall be ahead only and not beneath. You shall be the head and not the tail. If we really want these things to activate, then we have to think outside the box. We have to come into covenant with the Most High. We have to decide that we are just choosing life this day, and that's it. And for our family, and for many of you that follow the movements of Abraham in the Bible, you know that obedience is exiting America and exiting for good, and not going back, not being there, not kind of being lukewarm, and then I'm kind of in America, I kind of love America, kind of don't love it, kind of like it one day. You know, that just shows that you can't be trusted with where the Most High is trying to take the remnant of his people, and that includes Gentile nations. I want to say that, because at the end of the day, you are as the chosen to be the salt and the light of the earth. But if you are hidden, how can you be the light of the earth? If you do not want to speak to other nations that are not like you, you will not be the salt and light of the earth, right? And so these are things that we have to think about. This is what we think about from a spiritual sense, and it manifests in the practical via what you see today on this channel, and then other things as well, because everything that you see here is not all inclusive of everything that we do. Okay, and so I want you to have a fallback strategy. I don't want you to be stuck in the West. I definitely don't want that. And at this rate, I don't even care if you're like, hey, I just need a soft landing and I feel like I want to go to the Middle East first. I feel like I want to go somewhere else first before I try and go to Africa. I feel like I want to be in Asia. You do you. I just want you to leave the West behind, and I want you to do it quickly, okay? We've been talking to clients and they share the same sentiment. They're like, I feel like I have about till November, December, and then I'm out. I feel like I don't want to see America 2026. Like, they don't want to bring in the new year in America in 2026 still being on that country or in that country. And again, maybe I'll do this in the next video. I've done this previously and showed you guys how many Americans are leaving America, not just Black Americans, white Americans. Every American is leaving America in huge numbers. They are not returning, okay? They are looking at their ancestries and saying, oh shoot, I'm Italian, it's time to go. Oh shoot, I'm Spanish, okay, I'm heading that way. Or for African Americans, hey, I know that I'm from some country in Africa. Me specifically, my family's from Sierra Leone and Kenya. But I live in Mauritius because I love Mauritius. And so here I am in Mauritius, Africa. People are waking up, and they're not just choosing one place either. The vast majority of people know, hey, I have nieces, nephews, family. This is my time to be that data collection person that says, hey, y'all, I spent some time in Tanzania. I spent some time in Mauritius. I spent some time in Kenya. I spent some time in Zambia. Here are your options, family. Y'all can decide what y'all want to do with that information that I was able to get for you. These are sovereign moves. These are the only moves we should be making in this time. And with that, I'll leave you. You can join the Stay of the Diaspora by checking out the link in the description. I want to say the August 17th one is fully booked out. We had 2 new clients yesterday as we were preparing for the actual live session. And so you're going to have to check it out. So you may have some spots available in the August 31st session. Now understand, every single Stay of the Diaspora is at 2 p.m. Eastern, so just be aware of that. Make your plans, but recordings are also available within 48 hours for those of you that do not attend live. I will see you in the next video. Shout out to our 32 new clients in the Stay of the Diaspora over the past few editions. You guys are awesome. Some of these guys, they're already in Africa. Some of them are already in Asia. They're already just traveling. It reminds me quite honestly of 2020. In 2020, we saw such a surge of people calling us like, hey, I want to travel. What do I do? Hey, I want to get out. I want to get out. And when I say like a surge of people, I mean, we were talking on consultations to people, maybe 5 people in a month at least, sometimes even more than that, sometimes 2 in a day. And so it's looking like that time again. People can feel what's going on. And I'm not even in America, and I'm just trying to like kind of read the news and read between the lines and talk to some of my friends, and they kind of tell me what's going on. But it's feeling like 2025, especially Q3 of 2025, people are like, okay, this is the last year I want to be in this country. It's time for me to go. I will see you later. I may be back or I may not be back. That's your choice. That's your decision. But either way you choose, be blessed in it. Because listen, You just want to live your best life, your dream life outside of America. Live your dream life in Africa. That's what I want you to do. Increase your faith, increase your discernment, get in the scriptures, and do whatever needs to be done to fulfill the divine mission that the Most High has called you to. Shalom, shalom. I'll see you in the next video.